The wind howled outside as Lily Thompson wiped down the counter of Harper's Diner. It was one of those slow nights where time dragged and tips were nearly non-existent. She sighed, glancing at the clock. Just one more hour until closing. She reached for the coffee pot when the old wooden door creaked open. A man stepped in. His uniform was worn thin, his boots caked in dried mud. There was a heaviness in his gait, and his eyes carried the weight of countless battles. Lily had seen her share of struggling folks in the diner. Still, something about this man made her pause. He stood at the entrance for a moment, as if deciding whether he should leave. Then, with a deep breath, he shuffled toward a corner booth and sank into the seat. Lily picked up a menu and walked over. "Good evening, sir," she greeted warmly. "What can I get for you?" He glanced up. His face was weathered, his features marked by hardship, but his gaze softened at her gentle tone. "Just a cup of coffee, please," he said. His voice was rough, like he hadn't used it in days. As Lily scribbled on her notepad, she noticed his trembling hands gripping the edge of the table. A single cup of coffee wouldn't fill a man like him. She offered a kind smile. "How about a meal? It's on the house." His eyes flickered gratitude, maybe, but pride seemed to hold him back. "I can't accept that, miss," he said quietly. "You served our country," Lily interrupted softly. "Let me serve you." For a long second, he didn't speak. Then he exhaled slowly, his shoulders sagging as his resistance crumbled. "Thank you," he murmured. Minutes later, Lily placed a steaming plate of scrambled eggs, crispy bacon, and a tall stack of pancakes in front of him. He stared at the food for a long moment before picking up his fork. His first bite stopped him cold. He closed his eyes as he savored the warmth of a real meal, a small tremor passing through him. Lily busied herself behind the counter but kept stealing glances at him. There was something different about this man. He wasn't just any veteran down on his luck. Even exhausted, there was a quiet strength about him. She wanted to ask his story, but sensed it wasn't time. When he finished, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a few crumpled bills. "I can pay for the coffee, at least," he offered. Lily gently pushed his hand back. "Consider it a thank you for your service," she said softly. For a moment, he just looked at her. Something unspoken passed between them. Then, with a small, almost reluctant nod, he slid the money back into his pocket. "People don't usually do things like this," he murmured. "They should," Lily replied. He stood, adjusting his jacket. "You're a kind soul, miss, more than you know." With that, he turned and walked toward the door. As he opened it, the cold wind rushed in, sending a chill through the diner. He paused for just a moment before stepping outside and disappearing into the night. Lily stood there for a long while, staring at the empty booth. Something about the encounter lingered in her heart, though she had no idea how much that one small act of kindness would change everything. The next morning, Lily arrived at Harper's Diner just as the sun peaked over the horizon. She expected a typical day, some regulars, a few truckers passing through. But as she turned into the parking lot, her foot slammed on the brake. Her heart pounded. Right outside the diner, a convoy of military vehicles stretched down the road. And at the very center of it all, two massive tanks were parked directly in front of the entrance. A small crowd had gathered, phones raised to capture the surreal scene. Soldiers milled about in full uniform, some speaking into radios, others scanning the perimeter like they were securing a base. What on earth was happening? Lily climbed out of her car, her breath visible in the crisp morning air. She pushed through the crowd, apron still clutched in her hand. Before she could ask anyone what was going on, a soldier approached. His uniform was immaculate, his boots polished, his expression unreadable. "Are you Lily Thompson?" he asked, his voice firm but not unkind. Lily's stomach flipped. "Yes," she answered, her voice small. The soldier nodded, then stepped aside. And that's when she saw him. The same man from last night. The quiet, weary veteran she had fed. But he was different now. Gone were the tattered clothes. In their place was a pristine, decorated uniform. Medals gleamed on his chest, and behind him stood a group of high-ranking military officials. Lily's head spun. The man she had thought was just another struggling veteran was clearly someone important. He stepped forward, his gaze steady. "Good morning, Miss Thompson," he greeted her, his voice carrying quiet authority. "I believe we owe you a thank you." "I what?" she stammered. "You didn't know who I was last night, did you?" Lily shook her head, still too stunned to speak. "My name is General Lucas Raymond," he said. A gasp rippled through the onlookers. "Commander of the United States Army Special Operations Division." Lily felt like the ground had vanished beneath her. A general, one of the highest-ranking officials in the entire military. "I've been away on a long, unclassified mission," General Raymond continued, his tone softer. "When I returned, no one seemed to notice. No one seemed to care until you." His eyes locked onto hers. "You saw a man who needed kindness, not because of a uniform, not because of rank, but because it was the right thing to do." Lily swallowed hard. I didn't do it expecting anything in return," she whispered. "And that's exactly why you deserve this," he replied. He turned and nodded. A soldier stepped forward, carrying a sleek briefcase. He opened it to reveal neat stacks of crisp bills. $50,000, General Raymond announced. "A personal gift from me." Lily's knees wobbled. "That's not all," the general added. Her hands trembled as she stared at the money. Before she could speak, General Raymond turned to the crowd. "We are here today not just to thank Lily Thompson," he declared. "We are here to honor her." The soldiers snapped to attention. A military band, unseen until now, struck up a stirring march. Lily covered her mouth, tears prickling her eyes. General Raymond took another step forward. One of his officers handed him a folder. He opened it and displayed a certificate embossed with the seal of the United States Army. "This certificate of honor," he said, "is awarded to those who serve their country in extraordinary ways. Lily Thompson, you have proven that service takes many forms." He extended the certificate to her. With shaking hands, Lily accepted it, the weight of the moment pressing on her chest. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "You don't need to say anything," Raymond replied. "Your actions spoke loud enough." An officer brought forward an envelope. Inside was a military grant for $100,000. "This is for your diner," General Raymond explained, "so you can continue to help people, just like you helped me." Lily's legs buckled slightly, and someone helped steady her. "This is too much," she said, overwhelmed. "No," Raymond said firmly. "It's just the beginning." He turned back to the crowd. "People like Lily remind us that kindness changes everything," he said. The soldiers saluted her. Tears streamed down Lily's face as she clutched the envelope and certificate, realizing her life had changed forever. Reporters crowded in. Cameras flashed. "Lily, how does it feel knowing your kindness led to this?" one asked. I never expected anything in return," she admitted. "I just wanted to help." "That's exactly why you deserve this," Raymond said. "But there was more." "Come with me," Raymond said. He led Lily through the crowd toward a massive military truck. Soldiers opened the back doors. Inside were rows upon rows of crates labeled with military insignias, non-perishable food, bottled water, blankets, clothing. What is this?" Lily asked. "For your diner." "For your town," Raymond answered. "You didn't just give me a meal, you gave me hope. Now we'll help you give that hope to others." The crowd cheered as Lily stared at the supplies. Harper's Diner, once a humble eatery, was now a beacon for those in need. "And there's one more thing," Raymond said. He motioned for a soldier to step forward with a set of keys. "What's this?" Lily asked, dazed. "Go see for yourself," Raymond said with a smile. She turned. Parked by the street was a brand-new food truck, gleaming in the morning sun. Painted on its side were the words, "Lily's Hope, serving those who serve us," alongside the American flag. Her breath caught in her throat. "This isn't real," she whispered. "It's very real," Raymond assured her. "Now you can bring kindness wherever it's needed." Overcome with emotion, Lily wept. "You showed us what kindness looks like," Raymond said softly. "Now show the world how far it can go." The crowd erupted in applause. Reporters broadcast the moment nationwide. Lily Thompson, the small-town waitress, had become a symbol of compassion and hope. Clutching the keys, Lily took a deep breath. "I don't know how to thank you," she said. You already have, Raymond replied. Now, go make a difference. As the sun rose higher, Lily knew she was ready. Because kindness wasn't just a moment. It was a movement,